guys, and welcome to this week's edition of the Coffee and Hero Show, back in its regular time slot on a Tuesday. Obviously this week is the due date week for myself and Vicky, so trying to have a very, productive early week, shall we say, because the little man could drop at any time. So wanted to get this out, as I say, a little bit earlier. And I mean, this week as well, we're dealing with an absolutely massive delivery. Obviously, if you were watching last week or you were in the store, you'll know that there was no Marvel titles released last week, no IDW titles released last week. So, for example, last week you should have seen the release of Daredevil 1, Marvel Fortnite 2, Star Wars The Mandalorian. So this week we have a double week of Marvel content, all arrived mostly present and correct. One or two issues along the way, bad pun intended. But yeah, by and large, everything's in. Pull lists are organised, new releases are ready to go. And as ever, I'm going to take you through today my pull list, going to take you through variants that arrived in, new graphic novels that arrived into the store, do a little bit of preview stuff, and a little bit of new stuff as well. So yeah, plenty to get through, to say the least. Store-wise itself, obviously, as I say, we're sort of sitting on a bit of a timer, wondering when our son's going to be born. So there may be a little bit of up and down with with opening hours and stuff like that for the next week or so. We do have some contingencies in place. There will be some new faces you'll see in the store covering, some older faces as well. But yeah, just keep an eye on the social media, guys, just in terms of open and closing hours. I never want to be the kind of business that just closes and then you've no idea when we reopen. We like to be upfront with our customers, with our regulars, keep everybody up to date. So as I say, just keep an eye out on the socials for that. I have been working hard still in the meantime. Again, obviously moved a lot of the store around, got more stock out again. I'm doing a little bit of rejigging. There's going to be a lot of grab bags over by the new releases. Variants are being redone and they're going to end up in the retrospective section. So the DC variant boxes will be in the DC section, Marvel, etc., etc. So yeah, still plenty going on, as there ever is. We received some new slabs back as well. So there's some new graded comics on the walls, in the bays, in the display cases at the front. So I'd say that, there's plenty of new stuff in for you to catch dry over before, of course, I get to this week's stuff. If we look at a little bit of news first, there's not loads to go through, but just a couple of things I thought was worth having a little chat about. So first of all, there was a massive Kickstarter that kicked off about a week ago. I backed it straight away because this is something I've always wanted to read, but is hen's teeth trying to find. So it's a series from Mark Waid and Peter Krause called Irredeemable. It forms part of a trilogy, Irredeemable, Incorruptible, and Insufferable. And they essentially kicked off a brand new Kickstarter campaign to do some large sort of omnibus collections of all three series. It's already smashed expectations, as you would probably expect. Kickstarter's a weird one. I know that there's sometimes a little bit of blowback when larger, bigger, more well-known creators utilize the format. But if it means that we get this kind of content that maybe, Boom Studios is afraid to throw the investment behind themselves, just in case it doesn't sell well. If it means getting the content to the fans, then I think it can only be a positive thing, So I'm looking forward to this, and apparently there is going to be a Netflix adaptation of this material as well. So timing is obviously good on it. But again, I've always wanted to read it, and I'm a big fan of Mark Waid, so look forward to that. One thing I should chat about as well quickly, we finished a couple of TV shows in the last week. Obviously went to see Thor. I haven't went into great detail on my thoughts on Thor because I didn't like it. I'll say that much. It just wasn't for me. There was a lot of stuff in it that just felt light where it should have been, quite emotional and quite resonant. I thought they glossed over the biggest plot elements of the Jason Aaron runs. I thought it was cringy humor. I thought it was badly acted. Christian Bale was underutilized. I'm not going to go any further than that because, I always like to keep this show positive and, talk about the things that we enjoy. So it just wasn't for me. If you guys enjoyed it, fantastic. I'm glad you got something out of it. It just wasn't for me, and I thought it was a major misfire. So there was that. But on the positive side of things, two great things we finished off last week. We finished off The Boys Season 3, which was absolutely fantastic. The wait for Season 4, of course, is going to be unbearable. And then we also watched Ms. Marvel, which for me is probably the best Marvel TV show of the Disney Plus era. Now, I won't throw in Marvel shows with the Netflix stuff because, I think it's an unfair comparison. different production companies, different creative talents. But Disney Plus wise, I thought Miss Marvel was an absolute delight. It was so much fun. It was bright, it was colourful, the humour landed in the right way. There was endearing family connections there. There was a different visual flavour to it with going to different countries all over the world. I thought her slight change in powers didn't bother me. I thought they would because I really love the original run. But I just thought as a show, it was so cohesive, worked together brilliantly, and then had a couple of nice little stingers at the end. But one thing that really made Miss Marvel for me was the main actress in it, Iman Vellani. I thought she was absolutely wonderful, perfectly cast. And, she just really exuded that joy of being a superhero. Something that I thought Brie Larson didn't do in Captain Marvel. And that's how good Miss Marvel was. It got me excited for Captain Marvel 2, which I'm not a fan of the first one. So I'm really looking forward to it now just because of that. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring her up was that she was doing a Reddit AMA recently, and she was asked about what comic book she would like to adapt. And I was really happy to see one of the things that she mentioned. One of her favourite comics is Bitch Planet. Bitch Planet was a great book from Kelly Sue DeConnick about how troublesome women were moved to a prison on Mars away from all the rich men. It was just pure exploitation stuff. But it would remind you of like those 70s movies and stuff like that. And it has that mentality of like, the whole Rorschach thing when he's in prison and Watchmen, I'm not in here with you, you're stuck in here with me sort of thing. I absolutely loved it. And I'd love to see an adaptation for it. Actually, I'd love to see a wee bit of love come back for the comic as well. It wasn't that long. One thing I wanted to mention, obviously Daredevil finally out this week. I'll show off a few bits and pieces in a bit. But there's going to be a Daredevil 650 anniversary issue. Which is actually Daredevil number 2. You gotta love how legacy numbering works. But I just wanted to mention just because there's an absolute cavalcade of great Daredevil artists and writers from the past coming back to do stories in this. So, of course, the main Daredevil title at the moment is Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cicchetto. But coming back to work on this one, you've got Ann Nocenti, John Romita Jr., Rafael De La Torre, Alex Maleev, Paul Azaccato, Phil Noto, Chris Samney, and a few others as well. So it's going to be a big, massive, oversized issue for that. One for you Namor fans as well. So there's a writer who I do enjoy his work, Christopher Cantwell. I just don't read Iron Man for, reasons. But he's got a new one coming up soon, which is Namor, the Submariner, Conquered Shores. So we haven't really seen much of Namor in the modern Marvel universe. There was a really good Invaders series Chip Zdarsky did not too long ago that he was front and center in. He pops up in the Avengers every so often. But good to see a solo title basically at this point. So again, good creator involved with that. In terms of artists, let's see, it'll be Pasquale Ferry who will be the artist on that, who I believe recently did Spider-Man, Spider Shadow. So good creative team just there. One comic that definitely caught my eye this week, because this is just like two classic horror creators coming together to launch a new title. You're going to see more and more stuff announced over the next week or two, San Diego Comic-Con coming up and so forth. But one of the things that was brought up was a new Boom Studio series coming out called Damn Them All. Written by Cy Spurrier, who of course did that absolute brilliant Hellblazer run, really good Suicide Squad Blaze run recently as well. It's going to be drawn by Charlie Adlard, did a small comic called The Walking Dead. So this is going to be an occult anti-hero and a dark supernatural thriller. So the series follows Ellie Bloody L Hawthorne, an occultist for hire, as she mourns her late uncle, who was an occult detective himself as well as a magician. Now the 72 devils of the Ars Goetia have been freed from hell, and Ellie has to track them down and damn them individually. So yeah, looks great to me. Great creative team involved with that. If this is the caliber of titles that are going to be announced from San Diego Comic-Con, that's very exciting. So definitely keep an eye out for the San Diego Comic-Con announcements over the next week or two. And then the last thing just to throw out there is filming has officially begun on Dune Part 2. So Denis Villeneuve, of course, following up the first movie. It did well enough to warrant the sequel, which is good from what I understand, given that it was essentially half a movie. I still haven't watched the first one just for the simple reason that for me, I knew it was going to be half a movie. And I just thought, happy enough to wait and then watch the two back to back. So it's not due for release until next year, and in fact quite late next year. But obviously it's just good to see cameras are rolling on that. So yeah, a little bit of news and so forth there. What do we got up next? I'll throw a couple of previews out. So again, what I like to do each week is pick something off the previews board that we have in store that are done every month. give you guys a little flavour of some of the stuff that's coming out and stuff that we highly recommend sticking onto your pull list. So I would say for this week's one, I'll throw out is a one-shot special for DC, and that is the Harley Quinn 30th anniversary. Now, DC have had great success with these, you know, anthology stories celebrating specific characters. You know, you think of the 80th anniversary one-shots, your Batmans, your Green Arrows, your Supermans, that kind of thing. We're all really, really good. Especially the Green Arrow one, actually, that was superb. But yeah, with this one, it's Harley Quinn. You've got a ton of variant covers from the likes of Lieber Mayo, J. Scott Campbell, Terry Dodson, Bruce Timm, Jerome Opina. It's, by the look of it, it's Amanda Connor doing the main cover as well. So worth having a look over the covers online. Most of them are free to order. There is a 1-25 and a 1-50. So maybe those will be out, but there are tons of free to order variants there. So definitely worth a look. You know, you've got talent involved in this, such as Amanda Connor, Jelani Palmiotti, Paul Dini, Stephanie Phillips, Sam Humphries, Rob Williams. Yeah, tons and tons of great talent involved in that. And as I say, they tend to hit home runs with those anthology series. Pardon me. With regards to Marvel, let's see what we should show. Well, I think there's only one place to go here. God knows how long it'll take me to find it. But just given all of my Miss Marvel love that I was just throwing out, which, by the way, if you've never read the G. Will Wilson run that kicked it off, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I'll mention this one, which is a one shot as well, which is Miss Marvel and Venom. So 40-page one shot, written by Jody Houser and art by Dave Wachter. Deadly symbiosis. Venom is on the hunt. Who is hunting Venom? Miss Marvel teams up with Dylan Brock, the new wicked web slinger on the block, and as a scheme to harness the symbiote rears its ugly head. The first Venom-Miss Marvel partnership is also the concluding movement of the superhero symphony of the summer, as we reveal a connection between Wolverine, Moon Knight, and Venom, and Kamala Khan's team-up uncovers the larger plot behind it all. So, yeah, love me a bit of Miss Marvel stuff at the moment. Be checking that out. And then with regards to indie stuff, I think a good one to go for would be Image series, if I can find it. Of course, it's Image. It's one for the horror lovers out there, one for the anthology lovers out there, and one for the children of the 80s as well. So Creepshow is launching a new comic. This is going to be a 5-issue miniseries. Sounds a little bit like what they're doing with Silver Coin, you know, anthology horror, different one-shot tales each time. But there's some good talent involved here, you know, the likes of Chris Burnham, Paul Dini, John McCrae. You've got some variant covers there, including one by Declan Shelby as well. So yeah, each issue of Creepshow will feature different creative teams with uniquely horrifying standalone stories. So yeah, a couple of previews for you there. The previews order is due this Friday. Now again, these are releases that are due for September, so we'll always get a chance to top up a month before they come out, but after that we can't 100% guarantee them, such as the weird and wonderful world of comics. So just if there is anything that you like the look of, it's definitely worth letting us know about it. Let's see what's next. We'll go into variants next, simply because there is an absolute metric ton of them because of a couple of the big releases this week, which have decided to carry loads of variants with them. So we'll kick things off with Nightwing. This is a Nightwing 94. This is a 1-25, so this will come in a little bit more expensive. It's by David Talaski. Rather cool moment with Nightwing and Flash. I like that Nightwing's giving up his own mug for Flash. That's friendship right there, but he does have his own Batman one. Next up is DC vs. Vampires All Out War. So this is going to be a new 6-issue miniseries this week. Of course, it's a my pull list. This is by Kel Ngu. As I say, going to be 6 issues in total. Cardstock cover, as you would expect. Next up is Catwoman by Jenny Frison. No introduction necessary. You know I collect these. You know I think that she's one of the best variant artists around. And another one knocked out of the park there. Next up, we have Black Adam 2, Rafa Sandoval, who of course is the series artist for the series of Black Adam. This is issue 2, and again, that's your cardstock variant cover for that. Next up, we have Batman the Knight, which has been the great Chip Zdarsky, Bruce Wayne becoming Batman series. Riccardo Federici continuing his variants. Great to see Satana on there as well. Next up is a one-shot with a cover by Kamom Shirahama. This is Artemis Wanted. So again, this is a one-shot that I believe spins out of the Wonder Woman universe. Next up, we have issue 2 of Aquaman and the Flash. And I must admit, I'm not 100% sure who's on this variant. DC are usually good about showing who's on the variants on the covers, but they've just decided to do me dirty here instead. Vasco Georgiev for the variant cover for that. So again, this is your Aquaman Flash Team Up series. Next up, we're going to be moving on to some of the Marvel. I'll have to fix that in a second because that will annoy me. We move on to the Marvel variants. So you're going to be seeing a lot of these Predator variants popping up. So this is for Avengers number 58. Rather cool variant there, which is showing Blade pitting off against Predator. This week sees the launch of, well, there's 2 issues for this simply because one was due last week and then one starts this week. So there's basically a new Avengers X-Men Eternal series, which you've got Prelude for, and then the main series starting. So a couple for Judgment Day here. So you have Peach Momoko, first of all, on this variant cover. And then we also have in the rather glorious, detailed, character-filled Patrick Gleason variants as well. Big release this week for old Hornhead himself, Daredevil. So we got a couple of variants in to mark the occasion. We've got Dan Panosian, which I think is a great one, the reflection in the puddles of the hand, obviously proven to be around Daredevil and Elektra, or the 2 Daredevils these days. You have Jorge Fornes doing one of these window shade variants, which is part of a set and a theme that he's been doing. You have Peach Momoko doing variant as well, which is rather gorgeous, rather clean. I'm a big fan of that one myself. Continuing with the Predator theme, we have first of all Miles Morales, number 40. That's your versus Predator variant. And also you have Mirko Andolfo doing one for Savage Avengers, showing Black Widow pitting off against the Predator. We have a Greg Land homage variant for Spider-Gwen Gwenverse, number 4. We have the Ken Lashley frame variant for Spider-Man 2099 Exodus. A rather glorious looking Rod Rice Star Wars Darth Vader variant there. And then of course one of the big releases this week without a doubt is The Mandalorian number 1, and again there's accompanying variants for this. So we've got first of all the John Tyler Christopher action figure variants for The Mandalorian. We have a rather lovely one from Declan Shelby, no less. I think that's actually one of my favorite ones for The Mandalorian. We next up have the Star Wars Pride variant to accompany The Mandalorian. We have the inevitable TV photo shot for The Mandalorian also. And then we finish off with a rather glorious looking Stanley Artgerm Lau variant for X-Men Hellfire Gala, the yearly one-shots going into everything that is going on in the X-Men universe. So that is variants done. What about my pull list? Well, let's move on to that. So in terms of my pull list this week, some big titles. Again, obviously with the Marvel delays, but also some big DC stuff as well. So Batman the Night, first of all, so issue 7. This again is the Chip Zdarsky, Carmine Giamenico title exploring Bruce's origins and becoming Batman, traveling the world, learning his trade. So we're up to issue 7 of 10 on that. I just mentioned it there, Daredevil number 1. So excited to have this back. This should be a jumping on point for new readers. Don't miss out. Zdarsky's doing some amazing stuff with Daredevil, and he's got his co-creator Marco Cicchetto on board as well, one of the best artists around. No one does Daredevil like Cicchetto at the moment. I mentioned there in the variant sections about this new Avengers X-Men Eternals event, so I'm going to jump on this as well. So the prelude to it is called Eve of Judgment, so this should give you all the information to set up where all the conflict's coming from, where the event is going in terms of direction. So Kieran Gillen, Pascal Ferry on that. And then we move on to Judgment Day, which is part 1 of 6, I believe. And this is the main series kicking off. Beautiful Mark Brooks cover there. Kieran Gillen, of course, is shepherding and writing this event. And then you've got Valerio Schiti on art for this one. So that is one of Marvel's summer events. This one's not for me, but I get this for my nephew each month. And of course, I like to let you guys know when it has come out. So next issue of Fortnite Marvel Zero War. This one, of course, is polybagged, includes the download code. I will just talk quickly about a bugbear this week regarding this. So the second prints arrived for Fortnite Marvel Zero War. Obviously not everybody finds out about comics at the same time. Some people find out organically while playing Fortnite. They see other people with the skins. They wonder where they got them. That directs them to comics. The second printing arrived with no download code. That's fair enough as long as you're going to charge less for it. It was a $6 title, Fortnite Marvel number 1. With the download code. So if you're going to charge, say, $4 just so people can catch up on the story but not provide the code, I think you can understand that. What I can't understand is still charging $5.99 for a second print of a comic, but not including the download code. You know, all of Batman Fortnite, didn't matter what printing you got the download code. It seems like such a misstep from Marvel, and I don't know why, because it's bringing a bigger audience to comics. Fortnite's huge. You can't underestimate the size of it, and you know, having the ability to bring people into comics. But if someone comes in now and asks me for number one and I give them that and go, oh, is the code in this? No, I don't want it then. Which is a sad reality in a way, but I have managed to secure some more first prints. You know, they won't be here until next week, so hopefully we can still help people out with that. But we will have the second prints in as well. But again, just seems like a bit of a missed opportunity for Marvel for me. But hey, what do I know? Next up is New Fantastic Four number 2. Really dug the first issue of this from Peter David. It's Alan Robinson on art. And again, thought that was a really good issue 1. Mentioned The Mandalorian there. That is the main cover A, which is arguably the best cover if you ask me. Absolutely glorious. Adi Granov variant. But anyway, just so you know, with The Mandalorian, it's not new stories featuring The Mandalorian. It's a retelling of the TV show. The pre-orders on it have been big, but I think a lot of that is speculators, you know, first appearance of Grogu in a comic, The Mandalorian, etc., etc. But just don't expect new stories. It is a retelling of the TV show. Next up, we have X-Men Hellfire Gala. So I've mentioned it again in the variants. This is going to be an annual event in the X-Men universe, essentially letting us know the state of play in the X-Men universe to set up for the following year. So one shot there. I'm going to dig into that. This is actually from last week, but I didn't have enough copies, so I had to wait to this week for mine. Undiscovered Country, we're up to issue 19. So Scott Snyder, Charles Soule, Giuseppe Camuncoli. This one's an interesting one. So this is Skybound X number 25. Now you may remember Skybound X was a 5 or 6 issue miniseries that came out to celebrate the anniversary of Skybound X. But the thing about it is this one is jumping into the future, so it's skipping loads of issues and going straight to 25. I haven't put this in people's polls. If you were on Skybound before, I haven't put this in. Because it's kind of a one-shot. It's jumped into the future. It doesn't follow a continuing narrative. But I do have plenty of copies of it in. So if it's something you want, it will be on the racks. Scout Comics had this one. I just thought this looked like a really cool little series. This is a series called She Bites. Obviously has very much vampiric overtones. I also think that it has Let the Right One In overtones, which is one of my favorite vampire movies. So Scout Comics, give that a go. Next up from Hannah Roseman and Justin Mason, we have Rogues Gallery, covered by Declan Shelby there as well. So that was in the previews book. We had that on the previews board. Plenty of copies in of that as well. Next up we have Naughty List, which has been fun from Nick Santora, who was one of the writers of The Sopranos. Lee Ferguson on art, alternate take on Chris Kringle. This one sort of came out of nowhere for me, and I had to keep an eye out for it, but anything Scott Snyder you would think would get lots of fanfare, but that was not the case with this one. This is called Dark Spaces Wildfire. It's from Scott Snyder, Hayden Sherman, and it's an IDW brand new number 1. Same again, I have 0 pre-orders for this because it just sort of came out of nowhere. I don't even think it was in the previews book, but ordered plenty in, so if you fancy jumping on that, we will have that. Undoubtedly one of the titles of the week, Do a Powerbomb. Daniel Warren Johnson loved issue 1 of this, so looking forward to issue 2. Walking Dead, always a good week. We're continuing on with the Walking Dead Deluxe. We're up to 43. The governor has found them in the prison. New Punisher this week as well, issue 4. So continuing on with Jason Aaron's relaunch for Frank Castle. Jesus Says and Paul Azuceta again splitting art duties. We have the latest issue of Moon Knight kicking off a brand new story arc as well. Jed Mackay on this, of course, doing some great stuff with Moon Knight. Another favourite title of any week it's released, Nightwing. We're up at issue 94 now. So Tom Taylor just continues to knock that out of the park, regardless of what trolls on Twitter say. Next up we have a 6-issue miniseries, DC vs. Vampires All Out War. So same again, if you're on DC vs. Vampires, I put the one-shots in your boxes because they're one-shots and they're quite critical to the story. This is a side mission, a spin-off, if you will. So I haven't put this in people's boxes because I'm not going to say to you, you have to commit to a 6-issue miniseries. Again, we've ordered plenty in. If you want it, we have it, but I didn't put it. If you're on DC vs. Vampires, I didn't put that in your box automatically. We got restocks this week of Dark Crisis, Worlds Without a Justice League. Superman, this is written by Tom King, art by Chris Burnham. So again, grabbing my copy of that this week. I already showed off Catwoman 45. Of course, again, I go the Jenny Frisson variant route. And finally, we finish off with one of the greatest covers in recent comic history, if you ask me, from Dan Mora. And that is Batman Superman World's Finest number 5. So Dan Mora on art, of course, with Tamara Bonville on colours, and Mark Wade writing. So issue 5 of that. So that brings us very nicely to new stuff in this week. And when it comes to graphic novels and so forth, there's a couple of big bad boys here that have been reprinted that are very high in demand. We've got some epic collections, we've got some trade paperbacks, we've got some manga, a little bit of everything. So should kick things off. These never last long. New volume of Chainsaw Man is out this week, so we're up to number 11. Those always sell like hotcakes. We've got DC League of Super Pets. So again, this is part of the DC graphic novels for kids range. So again, aimed at a younger audience here, and will be in our all ages section. You have Death Note short stories. So this is a complete collection of Death Note short stories penned by the series creators. Discover the tales of lives irrevocably changed by the sinister influence of the Death Note. So this contains the stories See Kira, Kira, very nice, the Death Note pilot chapter, vignettes of Elle's life, and more. Back in stock is Die. So we got all 4 volumes back in stock of Die, and again, one of my favourite titles of the last few years. Kieran Gillen, Stephanie Hans, just absolutely wonderful. If you're a Stranger Things fan, jump into Die. Wonderful stuff. Next up, we have The Creep from John Arcudi and Dale Eaglesham. So this is the original story of The Creep. This has been faithfully reproduced for the first time in this new edition. So it's a private detective noir story. Collects long unavailable The Creep stories originally published in Dark Horse Presents. Back in stock, because no comic book store in the world should not have it in stock at all times. Watchmen, don't need to say any more. Batman's Secret Files. So this is a collection of one-shot secret files that came out during James Tinian's run. Ed Brisson wrote some of these as well, Mariko Tamaki as well. So this collects the secret files for The Signal, Huntress, Clown Hunter, Peacekeeper, Miracle Molly, and The Gardener. Highly recommend this, actually. The Miracle Molly one was brilliant. Peacekeeper one was fantastic. Clown Hunter was great. Huntress was really, really good. And The Gardener had some amazing art from Christian Ward. I actually really recommend that. I have all the single issues, but as I say, some epic collections coming in. So we have Excalibur Epic Collection, The Sword is Drawn. This is volume 1. So this is A Legendary Team is Born. Captain Britain 1 and 2, Excalibur 1 to 11. Material from Marvel Comics Presents and Mighty World of Marvel as well. So Alan Davis, of course, on this. Chris Claremont as well. Murderer's Row of Talent and Excalibur from the very start. Next up we have Legends of the Dark Knight. So this is a collection of 8 issues of Legends of the Dark Knight. This had creators working on it such as Stephanie Phillips, Derek Robertson for the first time ever, doing a Batman story. Kian Tormey is working on this, Matthew Rosenberg, Belen Ortega, loads of great stuff in that. Latest volume of Stray Dogs has come out. This was Stray Dogs Dog Days. So again, Tony Fleeks and Trish Fostner, who are the creators of Stray Dogs. This is essentially a collection of the stories showing how all the dogs ended up where they did, i.e. in the life of a serial killer. Another epic collection here, a little bit of Spidey for you now. This is called Man-Wolf at Midnight. This is covering volume 8, which is from 1973 to 1975. So you have Amazing Spider-Man 124 to 142 and Giant Size Superheroes number 1 as well. So again, epic collections, in case you don't know, perfect full color reprints of the original stories. This will have the first appearance, I believe, of Punisher in here, which was Spidey 129, if I can. Yep, there is Punisher right there. So if you've ever wanted to see where the Punisher came from. Epic collection there for Spidey. Another good all ages title here. We have the Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries, which collects 6 issues from that. Again, great for all ages. Big one this week is definitely Nocterra, Pedal to the Metal. This is volume 2 of the Scott Snyder and Tony S. Daniels series. We do have volume 1s in stock still with the signed book plates, Scott Snyder and Tony Daniels sign. And then you've got volume 2, you can follow straight up. This collects issues 7 to 11 and the Blacktop Bill Nocterra special. An undoubted big reprint that's out this week is the Something is Killing the Children slipcase edition. So this is a second printing. So the first printing, what they did with this was they massively underestimated demand and they took massive amount of pre-orders and then couldn't satisfy them. To give you an idea, I had 12 of these pre-ordered. I ended up with 2. So I didn't even end up with one for myself because there were a couple of guys pre-ordered with it, took care of them first. But the second printing, I gotta say, I actually prefer it because the first printing has a silver sort of House of Slaughter mask finish on it, whereas this is blood red, which I really, really like. So I guess I'll finally get it into my collection, but it'll be a second printing. But yeah, got a good few of those in this week. I collect issues 1 to 15, so the first 3 story arcs of Something's Killing Children. We continue on with the Epic Collection. So we have Epic Collection for New Mutants. This is volume 8, covering the early 90s, so 1990 to 91. This is sort of called The Road to X-Force. So you've got New Mutants 95 to 100 in here, so New Mutants 98 is a pretty big deal. You'll want to read that. You have annual number 7, Uncanny X-Men issues, X-Factor issues, and plenty in there as well. So again, New Mutants 90 to 91 for that. We have a classic Batman story back in stock, Batman: A Death in the Family. So of course this is to do with Jason Todd being attacked by the Joker. Very, very famous story. Very grisly and dark story, so this is one very much not for younger readers. Superman 78 hardcover is out this week. So this was the 6-issue miniseries written by Robert Venditti with art by Wilfredo Torres and colours by Jordi Belair. Now what's really cool about this is I can't show you it here, but I saw someone share it on Twitter last night, is the interior design. If you take the dust jacket off, it looks like an old videotape with Superman 78 labels on it. Very, very cool. It also includes a sketchbook by Wilfredo Torres of sketch designs for the book and a variant cover gallery as well. So, new out this week. We have X-Lives/X-Deaths of Wolverine out this week as well in omnibus form. So, this of course was the weekly event of X-Lives and X-Deaths. Benjamin Percy writing, Joshua Cassara, Federico Vicentini on art. So what we did was it's essentially a look through the complete life of Wolverine, which is pretty sweet. So we have the normal main cover, which is that one, Josh Cassara, and then we have the Mark Brooks. This is the DM Comic Store exclusive variant if you prefer that. So we have both in stock. And then we finish off with probably one of the most in-demand reprint requests for Marvel Comics. And that is the omnibus of The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1. So this is the big one. This is, if you want to get into Spidey from the start, this is the most comprehensive way to do it. Trying to buy all these issues will set you back a fortune. But what you've got in here, it kicks off Amazing Fantasy 15. You've got Amazing Spider-Man 1 to 38, a couple of annuals as well. I mean, you've got so much in here. You've got first appearance of Spidey, you've got first appearance of Vulture, Dr. Octopus, the Sandman. You've got the first team up with Human Torch. You've got Mysterio. You've got Kraven the Hunter. I mean, you've got Electro. This is, for any Spider-Man fan, this is like the holy grail. Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, amazing value. When you break it down, you're talking 40 plus issues there of just pure Spider-Man gold. And it really does cover so many of the big events of the Spidey story. So yeah, back in stock, and we made sure to get those Amazing Fantasy cover reprints for the covers rather than there was a DM variant which wasn't that nice. So yeah, that is it. That is all stuff in this week. This will all be going out for sale Wednesday the 20th of July, which I should really know given it's the due date. But as I say, keep an eye on social media for updates on that, just in case we have to close at a moment's notice or there's different people in watching the store, etc, etc. But yeah, as ever, anything appeals to you, just get in touch with us. We'll always do our best to hold things for you. For a reasonable amount of time, of course. We can't be holding things for months and months on end, which we have been doing for a few people recently. But yeah, anything appeals to you, just get in touch and just let us know. But yeah, everything out for sale this Wednesday. Fingers crossed, I should be here, but I may not be. We shall see. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it proved useful as ever. Thanks for watching. Feel free to spread the word if you think anybody else would enjoy this kind of stuff or would enjoy these weekly updates. It's all the support is always appreciated. So again, hope you're keeping well out there. I'll look forward to hopefully seeing you in the store soon. Take it easy.